Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
My name is Azaglo Elizabeth. You're watching Nation 1 TV News. The African Women Lawyers Association AWLA is calling for a major overhaul of Ghana's family justice system. From maintenance enforcement struggles and social welfare logistical crises to the urgent need for centralized digital marriage records, legal experts and stakeholders are pushing for urgent policy reform.
With this conference, we'll be able to come together to itemize what the real issues are with family law. We have brought together practitioners and judges to be able to tell us what are the issues with family law. Is it a matter of policy? Is it gaps in our laws? Is this with the institutions that encompass the framework? Is this with implementation of our laws? What are the practical challenges? This is not theory. This is in practice because we are here as practitioners. So by the end of today, we want to gather the various areas. We're looking at marriage, divorce, children, maintenance, adoption, custody, surrogacy, bringing spousal property rights, bring it all together. How do we make it better? The hope is to be able to plan a national family law and justice conference. We don't want to just go ahead and plan the conference. So we are bringing all the stakeholders in for them to be able to itemize what the challenges are and how we can address them. So that is why we are here. But the reality, like you mentioned, is that sometimes enforcement is a challenge. Enforcement is a real challenge because, let's say, for instance, maintenance. You can have an order for maintenance granted, and then enforcing that order is a challenge either because the person cannot be found, they live outside the jurisdiction in a country that you cannot enforce maintenance orders. So some of these things are a huge challenge. Ghana has still not signed on to the Hague Convention on maintenance and enforcement outside the jurisdiction. So that's why we're having this conference, so that we can itemize some of the real and practical challenges that we are facing in family law and find out how to best address them. Whether it is change in policy, new policies that can be brought in, whether it is strengthening institutions to be able to enforce some of these orders, whatever it is, let's have the conversation and see how we can do that.
In family welfare. This is a very big one because we have a lot of issues. When it comes to child maintenance, often the courts are looking at cash, where a man or a woman pays a certain amount towards the maintenance of the children. But in the hinterlands or in the regions or villages where money is hard to come by, fishing areas, can we look at in-kind payment? For instance, if it is cassava farm, a certain portion can be given to the one with the custodial parent so that the foodstuffs could be harvested, sold, and then used for the maintenance of the children instead of always relying on cash. These are some of the issues I'm looking at that we can discuss today and then find a way to add. If it is a fishing area, can we, during the bumper harvest, can we get certain quantities that will be given out instead of asking for cash? So I'm looking forward to adding some of these ones to the already established ones like cash in child maintenance issues. I'll say that the department, as it stands now, the head office is the policy wing of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, whilst the regional offices and the district offices under the local government service. And at times, people get confused about how the department is structured currently. The implementation is actually with the districts and the regions, whilst the former, what we used to call head office, People still refer to it as head office, churns out the policies and administrative directives. So logistical constraint is one big problem. For instance, the whole nation, there is no regional office that can boast of a functioning vehicle. Meanwhile, the work we do at social welfare involves movement, a lot of movement. A child has been abandoned. Picking the child up, going to the police, making sure the child receives some health care and is declared fit to be cared for outside the hospital, providing medication where they've been exposed and the child is dying and need to be with the mandate that is given to us. Without a vehicle, without resources, our case is not like when you are not able to do it today, you can do it tomorrow. It's about human life. So immediately you are providing clothing, you are ensuring that the person access health care, you are liaising with other institutions like police and judicial service to obtain care orders for the children, because once the child enters the welfare system, we need a judicial or a court order to ensure that the child is provided the best of care within the system. So with all this, then the logistical constraint is hampering service provision. And when we say social welfare, there are times people think that any compassionate person can do that, but social work is a profession, and you need to go to school to be a social worker. You don't undergo apprenticeship to become a social worker. You need to go to school, and you need to combine both university degree and experience on the field to be effective in providing welfare services to the populace. Qualified social workers are trained to make use of whatever is available. So without the resources, we still find ways to work, but that's not to say that it is very easy. We could have done more if we are provided with the logistics we need to work with. Why we are here today. Otherwise, we would have said, oh, we have a lot to do and wouldn't have been here. But we are here because we also want to contribute to the issues at stake. I started by telling you that currently most of the reliefs are cash-based, and we are looking at in-kind reliefs.
To discuss matters relating to family laws in Ghana, and I'm part of the team that facilitated the AWLA program. And one of the core issues that my team raised, the team that I facilitated raised, relates to the digitization of marriage and divorce records, and how do we centralize to bring more efficiency and avoid more fraud in terms of marriage records and marriage documentation. And we were able to reveal that there's no digital marriage record database or divorce record database, to the extent that if somebody marries in Tamale and he wants to marry again in Accra, there's no records for us to verify whether the person has been married before or not. It also came to bear that in terms of licensing of imams to help registration of Islamic marriage, the Ministry of Interior has neglected in terms of putting measures in place to register imams, as has been done for Christians who register with us. It has also come up that there is no single place in terms of state agency that you can register your Islamic marriage in terms of the requirement of the law. Although the lack of registration of Islamic marriage amounts to an invalidity of the marriage, that system has not been there. So you have seen an instance where the law puts an obligation on the person to register the marriage. The state has failed to do that regard. And also we have also seen that the marriage regime is in the hands of about several ministries and several agencies. You have local government performing marriage ceremony, and local government happens to find itself under the Ministry of Local Government. You have Registrar General's Department under Attorney General. You have Assembly Press under Ministry of Information. You have the Judicial Service, the Court Registering Marriage under Judicial Service. So there's a whole confusion in that regard, and there needs a need for us to centralize the entire marriage regime. And also there's no link between the divorce database and the marriage database. So courts sit down to cancel marriage certificate, and there's no difference to the authorities that issued it. And these things are major issues that we have to address it. And because of some of these lack of addressing, people suffer it when they have to use the document for registration purpose. And also we have to encourage and educate people on the need for marriage documentation because it serves as a major tool of evidence in case there's any crisis. And these are the concerns that we are raising. We think that the state should spend money in terms of recognizing how to best we can put marriage documentation. And that includes how do we link our Ghana cards to our marriage records, which doesn't exist at the moment. So I think that for us, we came to be part of the conversation, not necessarily affecting women. I think there's a conversation of family. We are quick to discuss family values when the state has failed to take into account our proper documentation of families. And so if we are not careful with our family data, we will have a situation where a document that we may pull up to support a marriage when it happened in 1970 may not be recognized in 2026, not because the marriage was invalid, it's lack of information on that particular marriage. And we think that the state has been very negligent and reckless when it comes to putting together a marriage record database. And everybody is acting in silos and taking the money, and the people who suffer most at the end of the day may not be there when inheritance and properties are supposed to be shared. We have an institution called Marry Right, where we are building marriage databases and we are building a public record database for marriages, where we are now relying, because the state has failed, we cannot train our hands in despair. We think that we can work with the public to build a marriage database where people self-report their marriage on our system, and we think that it will help us to force the government to act. But for now, the state has been negligent, the state has been reckless in terms of marriage records, and the lack of funding for these projects also emphasizes the entirety of the family. So if the state really cares about family, I think he should put his money where his mouth always thinks of that, i.e.
Thank you for watching Nation One TV. Kindly subscribe for more news updates.